Remember, guys, I'm fair, but I'm firm. Touch him up. Good luck.
Who the fuck is
Larry Flowers?
I'm gonna trade this life for fortune and fame. I even cut my hair and change my name. Cause we all just wanna be big rock stars.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am back. And it's been a minute. No, I know. It's been a minute. It has been. I took a little time to myself through the new year. There's a lot of stuff going on in my life. Work stuff, personal stuff, business stuff that, you know, Larry Flowers' life is all one big ball of craziness. So I had to step away just for a little bit and get my mind right. But I'm an open book. We can talk about all that stuff. But I'm glad to be here with you. Thanks for listening. Colin, thanks for being with me. It's good to be back.
It's great to have you back on the airways there, Larry. We're excited for a fun 2024. I think that's safe to say, right? Things have been going good so far for me. Running around. Wife's expecting, which is super excited. July 26th. So a little bit different summer in the Jersey Shore this year, Larry, for me. But other than that, man, just running around, bro.
Yeah,
that's how you got to do it.
Yeah, I'm same with me. There's so much going on here. We're going to be moving offices from downtown LA to Beverly Hills. Huge move.
Nice.
I'm going to be moving personally to a new place in the Beverly Hills area. So it's just been a lot of things going on. Obviously, I was just in Aspen through New Year's for a month, and then I just went back to Aspen last week for a couple of weeks. Everyone knows Aspen is that's the place I go to reset the mind, go see some good friends, breathe some fresh air, because we don't have fresh air here in Los Angeles. If you want some, you got to go to Malibu or down Orange County maybe. But
Larry, why are you moving offices?
Well, we have a big office here. We've got a lot of people here, and this office has been here for quite a long time. And downtown is nice, and it's kind of happening as far as the jewelry world. The Diamond District, we're in the middle of the Diamond District, and there's a lot of things going on here, which is good for us. But I think we've all progressed to the point where we want to work closer to home and in a nicer environment, and have the opportunity to have people from that area be able to come into the shop and come shopping. A lot of people, it's not very far. Downtown LA to Beverly Hills is not very far. It's technically, with no traffic, it's like 15 minutes. But most people don't want to drive downtown. It's a little, you got to understand how to navigate the downtown worlds to come down here. And sometimes there's a lot of traffic, so a 15-minute ride could take over an hour. So we're deciding to make the move, and it's very exciting. But there's a lot of moving parts that go with that, and so it's been a little bit stressful. But yeah, I mean, this summer should be a little bit different for me. Obviously, I'm a Jersey Shore guy. I like to go home and spend at least 1 or 2 months back there and walk over to my mother's house in the morning and force her to make me breakfast and clean my clothes and stuff like that. But I think this summer is going to be a little bit different. I got a cousin that's getting bar mitzvahed in Paris, France. Obviously, half my family's out there. That's where I was born and raised. And July 11th. So I will be going to Paris, France this summer, which will be exciting. I'm bringing my old man out there with me, but it's also the same time as the Olympics. So I'll be coordinating with some people. In fact, I was just talking to my boy Alex Steen, former St. Louis Blues Stanley Cup champion. Trying to put a little group together, go see some events for the Olympics in Paris. It should be electric. It should be very, very special. So we'll see how things shake out for this summer. But for now, I'm just on the grind. I'm back, back with you in here, and just continue to do my thing.
Fair but firm, Larry Flowers. There's a lot of topics to talk about. I think we got to start off with the hottest one. It's not the Philadelphia Eagles. It's definitely not the Sixers. That's boring at this juncture. And it's definitely not the Phillies. It's the Philadelphia Flyers. There is tons and tons to talk about there. You have Coots getting benched, right? How does Torts handle that? We'll talk about that. We have a new goalie coming over from Russia. You have a team that was at one point looking at one of the better teams in the NHL, the Philadelphia Flyers. They're on a major slide. They're running out of gas. So there's lots to discuss, but let's just start here. Let's just go right to this current slide, the current moment, how things are going backwards a little bit here. They're holding on for dear life. They forced overtime against Rangers to get a point. They forced overtime against last night. Excuse me. I watched the game and I forget who the heck they played. Islanders. Yep. So they're tough. They're gritty. As Torts would say, they have balls. They really do. But I think they're running out of gas a little bit. I think the lack of depth and the injuries and the trade to Walker and Couturier not being fully healthy is all affecting them.
Yeah, I mean, let's start from the top. Let's start with Coots. Coots has been someone that I've enjoyed watching play for a very long time. He's played more minutes than almost anyone his age. He's got a lot of miles on him. Unfortunately, I think they're catching up to him. He's a leader. He's one of the most respected guys, probably not only on that team, but in the league. He's an NHL warrior. And he'll go down as a true legend. But he's really, really slow right now. He does not look like himself. I understand Torts putting him on the fourth line. I really do. Listen, Torts has a job to do. He's got to coach a team, and he's got to try to get some wins. And unfortunately, Coots is just not really producing the way that he's expected to. And as far as the captaincy thing, like I said a couple years ago, he should be the captain. Like, he was ready to be the captain of the Philadelphia Flyers. I think they waited a little too long, and I think him becoming the captain came from above, not necessarily from Torts. But unfortunately, it's not. He seems to be slowing down quite a bit, and this slide here for the Flyers. I mean, starting with they won versus Boston, then they lose 4-1 to Florida. They lose 6. The Ranger game to me was the big one. The Ranger game to me was the game that the Flyers threw the kitchen sink at that game. They played so fucking well.
Unbelievable game.
That's one of the best games I've seen all year. That was a game where, guys showed who they are. They were gritty. They were determined. They played really hard for Torts. Back and forth battle. That was a tough game to lose. I mean, even though it went to OT and they got a point out of it, I think guys came out of that room. And I swear, after the game, I thought to myself, I bet you those guys are just – that took a little something out of them. They really wanted 2 points out of that game, and they didn't get it. They followed that up 2 days later against Montreal, and they actually did not play bad.
That third period, they were humming.
No, they didn't play bad in Montreal. They really didn't play bad.
They played like a bad couple periods, right? They haven't pieced together full games.
Right. Yeah, they didn't play bad in Montreal. And look, when you play bad teams, especially when you're Flyers, when you're kind of like on that, on that playoff bubble, and you're playing bad teams, you better believe that those teams are going to come out. They're going to give you everything they got, right? They want to knock you out. They have a lot to prove. These young kids, they're trying to prove something for next year. So almost in a way, like playing teams that are not quite as, that are lower level or lower standings, they're going to give you everything they have. And that's what happened in Montreal. And unfortunately they couldn't score goals. The Chicago game, that was a disaster. That shows me this team is slowing down. They're getting tired. They're running out of gas. That Chicago game was absolutely demoralizing. And then you go into last night. There's so much to unpack from last night. It was great to watch. I was excited to watch this game for many reasons. Islanders are going to give you everything they had. Flyers are going to give. This is going to be a huge game. I got my boy Bortuzzo in Long Island and for the Islanders playing. I can't even look at Bortuzzo. Bobo, if you're listening, man, I can't even look at you right now when you're playing. There's this rule that comes from upper management with the shaved face, clean look thing. You don't look as mean as you really are on the ice, and you're a mean guy on the ice, and off the ice, you're probably the nicest guy in the world. Well, I think you are the nicest guy in the world, but on the ice, you're so clean and shaved. I can't even look at you. You don't look like a man, but I loved watching you play last night. It was great. You played, you had a good game, and it was a back and forth game. And that second period for the Flyers, I mean, I understand why Torts went off. I really do. I mean, Torts, he wears his heart on his sleeve. Now, I have a lot of people that I talk to about Torts, and it's pretty interesting to kind of get different takes. But the most interesting take I think I get is from Cody. one of my best friends who knows more about hockey than anyone in the world. He doesn't love it. He loves Torts as a coach. He thinks he's a great coach, but he doesn't love how Torts airs his laundry out to the media like that. He thinks that you want to let your team have it and you want to absolutely explode and kick your guys in the ass. Like you do that in the room and you keep that in-house. Obviously he's had a few blow-ups in the media and that's what he does. But I also, I've always been a supporter of Torts and I like to give him his props and he's been in the league for a long time now. When he did win a cup, he was on a completely stacked team. I don't think he's been past the third round. I think maybe once in his career. But that said, listen, I give Torts. He could do whatever he wants. I like Torts. I respect him as a coach. He's a tough coach. I like playing for tough coaches when I was young, but I think that maybe he's pulled on the leash a little too tight lately, and I think guys are starting to fall apart a little bit. This is a tough stretch coming up. I mean, it's not necessarily a tough stretch of good teams, but you're playing against teams that have young guys that are playing for their futures, and that's a dangerous team. You got Buffalo coming up, you got Columbus, Montreal, then you got the Rangers, Devils, Caps, and most of the teams, a few of the teams that are ahead of us in the standings have a couple games in hand, including the Caps have 3 games in hand. I mean, the Caps are almost a shoo-in now to get in. I mean, the Flyers have to go. They've got to go. They can't go worse than 4-2. I mean, that doesn't even get you in. I mean, they got to go 5-1 at worst, right?
Yep. Yeah, so, I think, Larry, a lot of great points brought up there. To go back to that schedule, right? Like if you just go through like March, just briefly, Caps beat them 5-2. They beat the Sens 4-2. They lose to the Blues in a close game. They turn around. They beat the Panthers when they were the top team in the NHL 2-1. Great win. Then they turn around. Lightning beat them 7-0. Okay, whatever. Flyers, and they sneak one past the Sharks. Then they play the gauntlet, right? It's the Maple Leafs. They lose. Bruins, they lose 6-5. Played them tough. They come back and beat the Maple Leafs. Okay. Hurricanes beat them 3-2. Bruins 3-2. Like all these games are close. Like this is like a 7-game series. Like they're playing like a 7-game series in the playoffs. Like that's what they're going to right now. Okay. And then they lose to the Panthers 4-1. That Rangers game, to go back to it, I actually left it like, okay, this team is actually legit. Like to keep coming the way they came on the road in New York against the hottest team in the league and the best goalie in the NHL at that current point in time, like, holy shit, the Flyers are for real. No Walker, he got traded. No Carter Hart, he's gone. No Drysdale, he's hurt. No Nick Seeler. Like, no Ristolainen. Like, that's huge casualties to a team that's supposed to be a lottery team. And, like, that really impressed me. I'm like, okay, they lost that game. Overtime was botched. Boom, you can't give Fox that room in OT to rip a shot. Like, the guy's a beast. So that really excited me. And then they lay the egg against the Hawks Canadians. Like, I get it. I don't believe they played down. I just think they played bad. And then the Islanders, a tough game last night. They had puck control and blew it. So you're right. What's coming? They should win a lot of these games. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to like the last game of the season. You know it's going to. Yeah. And to go back to the Torts thing, I played for a lot of coaches in this world. All of them, the good ones, rip you behind closed doors and they defend you to the media. All of them.
Exactly.
And I have no problem with Torts is doing because there's an agenda behind all of it, right? It keeps the media off the players at the end of the day. But it didn't. It got the media on Sean Couturier. It got the media on a lot of different players. When Sandstrom didn't play well and he didn't say anything, like just be coy and move on and then destroy your players behind the closed door.
There's the problem is with his rant last night. The problem is this. The guys in the room, we don't know. I mean, I kind of know because I know hockey and I watch every Flyers game, but he didn't call out anyone specifically, but the guys in the room, they know. And the problem is even the guys that he loves, those guys are probably really close to the guys that he basically just shitbagged, right? And that could create some major friction, not only this year, but in the future. You got to be a little bit careful if you're Torts. Like, I get it. You're trying to figure out who's going to be on this team next year, who you want, who you don't want. I get what he's doing, but they're also professional athletes. They're not kids. Some of them are young, but you also got to walk a fine line, right? Like you're crossing the line a little bit. You're calling guys out in the media. don't think for one second the guys in the media don't know who he's talking about because they watch hockey just like we do. So there's a lot to unpack, and we'll see how things unfold. I love. Let's talk about Fedotov.
Yeah, the big boy.
First of all, the only thing I don't like about Fedotov is his name. It's hard to say his name. It's hard for the announcers to say Fedotov. It's right. It doesn't really roll off the tongue, but I'll tell you what. He looks legit. 6'7", big goalie, Russian, big, strong, can move. He can skate. He can work. He can stick handle. There's a lot to be excited for in the future. I think the Flyers might. I don't want to jinx it, but I think they might have the goalie that they've been looking for a long, long time. And we'll see. Listen, when the season started, and you'll remember this, and there's proof. You can go back to my podcast. I said the Flyers were going to be a tough out. This year. I thought they were going to play hard. They don't have elite goal scoring. Their power play is a complete and utter disgrace. I've never seen a worse power play in my entire life. Nobody's moving. They don't do anything. They get bad shots. I mean, at this point, I'm saying just get it to the blue line and just absolutely fire it on net and look for rebounds because there's nobody can do anything else anyway. But other than that,
and I knew they'd be. They have the pieces.
I know.
Tippett, Sanheim, Konechny, Scott Lawton's crafty. Like they have some players that can do it. It's like
I didn't understand a couple of games ago. Torts didn't. He put what's his name? He put he didn't put him on the second. No, well, I don't know why Bobby Brink didn't play last night. By the way. Which is a little weird to me. I don't know why Tippett wasn't on.
Forrester's got a cannon. Like, get him the puck.
Tippett was like he was like the third line on the power play at one point 2 days ago. I didn't understand that. I don't understand the power play on this team. I've never seen a worse power play in my entire life. Their penalty kill is great. They play hard.
But that's dropping. That's been dropping too. I listened to Flyers.
No, I know it has. They're tired. Listen, they're running out of gas.
I know
they really are. They're running out of gas. But I'll tell you a few things. I'm an optimistic guy by nature. Sanheim, thank God they didn't trade him. There was a lot of buzz about them trading him. I'm telling you right now, Sanheim is the real deal. He is developing into a high level D-man. I'm very, very, very optimistic about Fedotov. I think he's gonna. Listen. He's a big goalie. He clearly, if you look at his numbers in the KHL, they're not like holy shit wow numbers. But if you look at his numbers in the KHL in the second half of their season, they are holy shit wow numbers. So it's something that, and the KHL, for anyone that doesn't know, is the second best league in the world. There's no question about it. It's not the AHL. It's the second best it's Russia. There's all different. There's some other countries that are involved in that, but overall, listen, pretty disappointing. Pretty disappointing from some of the, Cam Atkinson's been okay. I love Tyson Forrester. I think he's had a tremendous season. I think you look at Tyson Forrester the way I look at him. He's got like a baby face. He's still he's a big kid, kind of still in a kid's body. He's like that Lafreniere in for the Rangers. Like, wait till he fills into his body. That kid, you mark my words. Wait till he fills into his body with his skill level and the way he can skate. I'm telling you right now, he is going to be a excellent NHLer. He's going to make some serious noise in the NHL. I can't see him not being at least a 40-goal scorer. You mark my words.
I love it. I think Bedard, right? Bedard's like a goal or two ahead of him now. Bedard missed about 10 games with a jaw, I believe. But
I'm not a diehard Bedard guy. I got to be honest.
Yeah, he'll be fine.
He's a good player, good shooter, great vision.
He's
not a great skater.
He's a puppy. He's a puppy.
He is, but
that
they compared him like Patrick Kane. We'll see. We'll see what happens with him. I don't think he's the next McDavid like everyone thought he was. I think that Mishkov's wait till he comes in. He's a tank. Mark my words. He might be the best player in that draft. You'll see.
If you're a diehard Flyers fan, this may not be the pod for you. We're going to give you some good opinions, etc. But if you're a real diehard Flyers fan, if you want to listen to something else, Jason Martinez, who has a podcast with us here, Geez, he has the Flyers Daily podcast. And they ask great questions. Like he has this guy, Bill Meltzer, on, who's a Flyers writer. And he talked about, like, hey, with the goalie coming over, I can't even say his name, from Russia.
Fedotov.
Does this mean Michkov could come over earlier? Because Danny B's got the nuts for it, right? Like the Cutter Goche situation, that takes nuts. This goalie situation, no one knew about it. That takes nuts. And also what they brought up on the show is nothing ever gets out of Philly. This came out of nowhere. Yep. There was no like, hey, Philly's working on bringing their goalie over from Russia. This was like, he's over. You're like, what? Oh, we're going to draft Michkov because he was in our building the Tuesday before the draft in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, Marlton. You're like, wait, he was? So they
when it comes to KHL, nobody really knows what the hell is going on. They're
no, but anything can happen. Kept it close to vest. He kept that close to vest.
No, for sure. But when it comes to guys in the KHL, like anything can happen in that league. That league is like, cash in a bag, under the table. Thanks for playing.
Russian
like
gas.
Yeah. You got to, the K. I've heard some wild stories. I've had a lot of friends that played out there in the K, and they loved it. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with Michkov. If they can get him out of there sooner, and they might. Who knows? I'm not even going to speculate because there's no point. But I will tell you this. I think the majority of Flyers fans. I'll end it with this for talking about the Flyers. The majority of Flyers fans assume that this was not going to be a season where we even considered the playoffs, making the playoffs. I thought there was a shot, and I'm on record on this pod saying that. But that said, I also said that the Flyers realistically are about 2 years out. The cap's going to be going up. They're maneuvering things. Danny Briere, Keith Jones, they know what they're doing, and they're going to be in a position to make an enormous splash. If I don't know, I can't work the cap. I'm not a numbers guy. In fact, I'm the opposite of a numbers guy. I'm just not that bright. But I can tell you that if there is one guy that'd be on my radar, if I was upper management and it made sense, I would be going after a buddy of mine by the name of Sam Reinhart down in Florida. I don't think they're going to lose. They're not going to let him go. I think they're going to re-sign him, but he's a UFA this year. This kid he has come into his own. He's a big, strong forward. He started off in Buffalo with Jack Eichel, and I've known Sam since he was really young in the league, and his body has filled in, and he understands how to play in the NHL now, and he's having a dynamic, unbelievable season, and that's someone I'd love to see the Flyers go after. My point is, the Flyers are eventually going to go after a big name. That's something that they've been missing for a long time. And I think they're 1 or 2 years away, but I'm Flyers fans, stay optimistic. The future looks bright, and I'll end it with this. I think Konechny, give him the C. He's earned it. He's a warrior. He's a fan favorite. He's a room favorite. I think he's the guy that can take the Flyers into the future, wearing the C proudly, representing the Philadelphia Flyers. No shots to Coote. That's not a cheap shot to Sean Couturier. Couturier is a Flyers legend for life. It's sad. He looks a little slow out there, but look, there's 6 games left. They need to go on a tear. Only time will tell what happens after that press conference last night. But I'll tell you one thing: it won't be for a lack of entertainment. It's going to be or lack of excitement for the Philadelphia Flyers and their fans. It's on now. 6 games left. Let's see if they can go on a run here. And if they make the playoffs, if they somehow get into the playoffs, which is not looking good right now, but if they somehow get in the playoffs, I'll be honest, even though they might be a little tired, if they can find a second wind, I wouldn't want to play them. I don't care who it is, because they're playing how funny.
There's a pretty good break. They have like 5 or 6 days between the playoffs and regular season too, which is really weird, but something to keep an eye on. Lots to talk about here on Fair but Firm with Larry Flowers. Okay, let's talk birds. Let's talk Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles have made a bunch of splashes this offseason. They just signed Reed Blankenship, their starter, Leonard Dickinson, the left guard, who's an absolute stud, really the key behind the tush-push 4-year contract extension. The vet Brandon Graham is back. Jake Elliott's back. They also said goodbye to Jack Stoll, backup tight end, DeAndre Swift, Hassan Reddick. That's a huge blow, but they brought people in to replace him. We'll get into that. They said bye to Kevin Byard. He went to the Bears. Marcus Mariota's gone. as a few others. But they brought in some key pieces. I'm a big fan of Devin White,
Yes,
the
sir.
linebacker out of Tampa. Everyone's dogging him and PFF and all this crap. Listen, the number one tale when you face a good player is how much time you spend on them in practice. You spend a lot of time on 45 Devin White with the Bucs. They brought in Kenny Pickett from the Steelers. I like that move as well. South Jersey guy, great backup, cheap for a couple years. I like that move. He's not going to be expensive. These high-paid backups now. Devontae Parker looking to revitalize his career. Bryce Huff to replace Hassan Reddick, really good player. Matt Hennessy, someone to keep on to come in and add some depth interior offensive line. C.J. Gardner-Johnson's back. He's a stud.
That's someone I want to talk about.
Saquon Barkley.
Heads up.
To me, is a difference maker. He's a C-Mac type player. So lots of discuss in free agency. They moved on from both their coordinators, offense and defensive. Lar, your thoughts overall free agency wise and some things you're excited about for the Birds this year?
Yeah. So first of all, caps off to Howie. Howie's always making crazy moves. He's a vet, man. He just understands how to be a GM in the NFL. He understands where his team is and how to maneuver and make the moves that need to get done. Not only with the coordinators but players. But I'll start off here. One of the first things I didn't like from last year was losing C.J. Gardner-Johnson. I said it from day one. That kid's a dog. He plays hard. He hits hard. I didn't like them getting rid of him. He had a good year until he got hurt last year. Getting him back, all the fans, all my friends, I have my group chat. They're all, talking shit to me. What are you talking about? He hates Philly. I'm like, you guys are so stop. Like, don't look at get away from the personal stuff or the personal part of pro sports and what guys say in the media. Like, if you're around it long enough, you figure out that that's all entertainment. That's all bullshit. Guys can say whatever they want. They can talk shit about Philly fans. They don't mean it. They don't give a shit. They're professional athletes. That's what separates pros from non-pros. And that whole beef between him and the fans was, to me, meant nothing. I couldn't care less. And it proves it. How he went and got him back. I think that's huge for the Eagles. Like you said, Devin White, that's very, very exciting. That kid is strong.
He's a runner.
He's strong. He's what the Eagles have been missing at linebacker. They were weak last year at linebacker, and I'm very excited to have him in there. The kid knows how to win. Saquon Barkley, I have to admit something. Originally, and I had a huge debate with my boy Sean Handler, as you know, Sean, Jackson, Troy on our group chat. I was not a big fan of getting rid of Swift. I wanted Swift to stay. I didn't want Saquon Barkley. I looked at a lot of different numbers. Swift, I think, in his career, had like 0.2 more yards a carry out or whatever. But more importantly, he has 600, give or take 600 carries in his career in 2 less seasons. Saquon had 600 more carries. I think he's around 1,200 career carries, 2 season-ending injuries. I just felt Swift was very dynamic. He was young. He's from Philly. He loves the city. To be from Philly and play for the Eagles, you're definitely going to get everything out of an athlete. But since I've let my emotions kind of calm down a little bit and let reason sink in, obviously Saquon is a very, very special once-in-a-lifetime type of back, playing behind an O-line that is elite. Obviously we hope it stays elite. Losing the best center in football. We'll see what happens. But I think they'll be fine. But it's an exciting time to be a Philadelphia Eagles fan. Saquon Barkley is one of the most dynamic, powerful runners this league has seen in a long time. And he's clearly rejuvenated. And I think you're going to see something very special if he stays healthy. I think the Eagles are going to have a very good year again. And it's exciting to be an Eagles fan again. Just like that. We went from really high, really low, and now we're back to really high. That's Howie Roseman, and that's how you run an NFL franchise.
I think you hit the nail on the head with Howie Roseman, right? Like, that's what he does. He's going to replace people. He's going to trade for Bryce Huff while you sign Bryce Huff, who's a young ascending player in this league. Guys, someone to really keep an eye on off the edge. I loved him with the Jets. But I think it's like a fair swap. Like now, but Son was such a great player. He's like I know Son. I played with him at Temple. He's from Camden. Like he's got passion, toughness, grit. That's
the only thing that's hard to lose these guys. If they're from any guy from any local area that plays for that local team, obviously you're going to get a little extra out of them. But maybe I'm being a homer, but if you're from the Philly area and you're playing for the Birds, it's probably just a little tiny, like even if it's only 0.1 more % than someone else from another city playing for that hometown team, it's a little more. And Hassan Reddick has that. Camden guy, grew up a Birds fan. Like
he's like philanthropic in the area. Played at Temple. Like,
right.
Like the one day we were there and I saw him on the sidelines for the Temple game. We said hi. We're chopping it up. And he's like, "Yeah, man, it was sick. I rang the bell over at the Phillies I rang the bell at the Sixers game, and then I walked over to the Temple game, and then I'm going downtown to the team hotel tonight for the Eagles." Like, you're like, damn, bro, like you did it. You did the dream from a kid in this area who grew up in Camden, who didn't have a lot, who was a walk-on at Temple as a defensive back. That's crazy. So I love Hassan, who dwell with the Jets. I think it's a conditional 3rd-round pick in
could turn into a second.
Yeah, 2026.
He plays X amount of games or X amount of, it's 10.5 sacks, and I think at least 12 or 13 games or something like that.
Yeah, so Haas, wish him nothing but the best and things we want. Eagles playing in Brazil that just broke to open the season. Would you go to that? Is that something you're interested in?
We're actually, and you and I will talk offline, but Sean and I have been talking about it. Talking to some of my people with the Eagles. I know you have your connects as well, but do we go?
I mean, twist my arm.
We'll put on those colorful outfits. We'll wear some fun shirts.
I mean, it'd be a hell of a party. I'll tell you that right now.
I don't know what they drink in Brazil. What is it called?
I like margaritas. That's my favorite drink.
Is that margaritas their drink or the sangria? What's it called?
Is that what it is? Let's look up.
I don't know. I think it's sangria. I don't know. It's something.
I'll tell you what. I've never been.
Oh, senoritas, I said.
Senoritas. That's a different. Never mind. I can't pronounce half of it.
So La Magnita, she said.
Okay. Is there tequila involved?
I don't know. Brazil. It's a long way. It's a long ways away. It's way down there. People don't realize how far it is. It's way down there.
Let's just go Brazil to LA flight time.
It's a long flight, I think. It's
one nonstop. Is that 12 hours? Is that right?
Yeah, no, it's crazy. It's further than you think. It's like it's on another.
The first time straight line distance between LA, California, and Brazil is 5,000 miles.
Wait, that can't be right. 5,000 miles is not 12 hours. Because 3,000 is like, I don't fucking know. I don't know. But nevertheless, it could be exciting to go down there. It's great for the Eagles. If you really think about it, they're the home team. If anything, it grows Eagles Nation, right? Birds Nation.
Oh,
down in
Brazil,
travel well. There's a lot of, imagine all the young people. Listen, I never really thought about this until you get a little bit older and you realize like the magnitude of some of these events. There's a lot of young people this is a huge event for down there. This is the biggest game in America going down to Brazil. Philadelphia Eagles are representing the home team. There are millions and millions of people that are going to say, okay, this is my first game. Let me see what we got. You got a great product on the field with the Philadelphia Eagles. If you could turn some of those people into Birds fans, I mean, Birds Nation grows exponentially.
And here's the other thing. Other sports don't do this, right? Like some professional soccer team from Brazil isn't playing a very, very, very meaningful game in the States unless they're playing, in the Olympics, right? Or in some sort of qualifier. But those games, like, they're sold out, but it's not the same. But like,
they're like even friendlies, right?
They're like friendlies or English Premier League. They come over here as a friendly. They're not even playing their real games over here, right? It's not the same. But when you go over there with with football, the biggest sports business in the world, as one total entity. Now, soccer is the biggest sport in the world, and there's so much money in it. I believe it. But no, I love it, Larry. I think it's good from a player's perspective. It's great to start the year there, and you're flying a big time jet. So they're going to start on a Thursday night. I'm assuming they'll play. So they'll be off they'll have a couple days off. You'll get back into town. You'll be hitting, what are the bars we hit in Philly? We hit McGillen's, but before that, I like that little dive bar near Sean's house. That was good.
Did you see that? Did you see that report that came out about McGillen's? Pretty cool.
Was it April Fool's joke or what?
No, it was not. It came out a couple weeks ago. It said the number one ranked.
Oh, yes.
Or the oldest. It's one or the other.
It's the number one ranked like Irish pub
bar in the country.
It's definitely not an Irish bar, but yeah. It's got to be McGillen's.
How could it not be McGillen's? What are you talking about?
I mean, you could have the name of it. Like Davis's Pub here in Annapolis is like supposed to be an Irish pub, but it's not. Like Irish pub
is not an Irish pub.
But to me, McGillen's is an unreal bar, but not an Irish.
You know better than me. You know better than me.
I would, as an Irishman and as someone who's drank a lot in Philly, there's more Irish pubs with that culture of Irish vibe and the music and the Guinness and the like that's like McGillen's is like a city college bar, bumping music at night, like
I think what was it rated? The number one, was it the oldest or was the best? I think it was rated the number one Irish pub in the country. I think it was. You know, I'm a Jewish guy. How come there's no Jewish bars?
You got to open one.
Hey, should I open a Jewish bar in Center City, Philadelphia? Would anybody come?
I bet.
Closed on Friday nights for Shabbat.
For Shabbat. And Saturday. When sunsets on Saturday, you can have like a grand opening.
Big night, Saturday night. Big night. Sun goes down. Come on in. Open till 4. No ID required.
Philadelphia's McGillen's Old Ale House, best Irish bar in U.S. according to Travel Channel. According to Travel Channel, ranked them number one Irish bar in the U.S.
I told you.
I'm not saying that they don't deserve that, but I think it's one of the best bars in the U.S. I don't know if it's a true Irish pub.
Yeah. Either way,
the Irish pub's like dark and kind of like damp and like pot pies and like Guinness fights at the pub. Holy,
I'm staying out of those bars. My fighting days are over.
Yeah, thank God I never got into them. I didn't need them. I got enough. I don't need any.
I'll tell you one thing. You're a hell of a nice guy, but you're one of those guys I wouldn't want to mess with. I've seen your paws. You got these big, gigantic paws. You look like bear claws. I wouldn't want one of those having to smack. I'm assuming if you got into a fight, you, depending on the opponent, you probably don't even close your fist. You just slap. You just slap and knock some sense into someone with those gigantic hands.
Like those people that are like getting knocked out cold, those slapping contests.
So dumbest thing I've ever seen. That's the only thing I've seen Dana White do that I don't, that I'm not a fan of, but whatever. You know what? Not this episode, but eventually I'd like to talk a little bit UFC too. I'm a diehard UFC fan. I watch every single.
All right, paint the picture to UFC. What's going right now? You don't have to go crazy, but like, all right, for a fan or someone like me trying to like keep up with it, there's a lot going on. I'm a Premier League guy. I'm watching March Madness. Masters coming up. But like, where are we at in the UFC schedule? What's coming up?
Yeah, UFC 300 is coming up in 2 weeks. Pereira and what's his name? Pereira. What's the main event? I'll look it up. But the card is not great, in my opinion. They think it's going to be great, but we'll see. But I think McGregor's fighting this summer. Him and Michael Chandler. That'll be a hell of a fight. Long overdue, but just in general, just like, you know, I grew up diehard boxing fan. I still watch boxing, but like, there's so many fighters in the UFC, but you could put on a fight night, which is, if anyone doesn't know, fight night is like a Saturday night fight. That's not pay-per-view. So they call it fight night. That's either at the Apex in Vegas, which is a small private venue, only 500 seats, or all over the country. Last week was in Atlantic City, which was really cool. And the thing about the UFC is, unlike boxing, every fighter has their promoters, and they promote their fighters to put them in advantageous positions to fight certain guys, and to, you know, it's all business. But the UFC is a league, right? So, and Dana White has to strategically match guys up, but there's a ranking system, and there's only one ranking system as opposed to boxing that has four belts. So when you watch a UFC fight night, for example, that's not a pay-per-view, you're seeing fighters that are absolutely putting their lives on the line. They are killing each other. They're willing to die in there. They're fighting for their careers. And, there's the bonuses with knockout of the night. And, there's a lot on the table. If you don't bring it and you have a bad performance, Dana White sees that. Like, you're not going to get 2-3 more fights that year. You're going to get maybe one, and you have to redeem yourself. Like, that's how the UFC kind of works. And it just becomes so well organized, and the production of the UFC is so fucking good. Me, O'Brien, Loops, we watch almost every single UFC, and on the big nights, the pay-per-views, we get together. We always watch together and have a good time. But yeah, I mean, I'm a big UFC guy, and I'd like to talk about UFC a little bit more in the future.
I love it. We can always dive into it moving forward on future episodes. You got a big dinner tonight. What do you got going on there?
Oh, I do have a big dinner. The Seattle Kraken are in town. They're playing the Kings tomorrow night. One of my closest boys, Jaden Schwartz. Shout out Schwartzy. He's in town. I'm going to go meet him. I'm going to leave the office here in a few hours, a little bit early, meet him in Beverly Hills, do a little shopping, try to use his credit card for some new sneaks for myself. He's got a lot of cash. It's myself, Jaden Schwartz, Brandon Tanev, Jordan Eberle, my old friend, old Philadelphia Flyers and fellow Frenchman, Pierre-Edouard Bellemare.
Big fan of his game. I loved him in Tampa.
Yeah, I've known him a long time. I took him to his first Eagles game. Great guy out in Philly when he played for the Flyers. I don't know if you guys know this or not. I know you do, but I was born and raised in Paris, France. So I have a connection with, especially the French players. There's not that many of them, but he's one of them. And so anyway, I was in Philly and I took him to his first Eagles game. They actually lost that game. Who was that against? Doesn't matter. Who the fuck was it? I think maybe the Jets. But anyway, great guy. Sweet as can be. Plays hard. Belmar, can't wait to see you. Who else is coming to this dinner? Maybe Yanni Gord, who I've never met. I told Schwartzy to bring him. But it's going to be a great dinner. Brandon Tanev is an absolute character. He's awesome. He's just a good, funny guy. And then, of course, there's Schwartzy, who's one of the best human beings I've ever had the pleasure of calling my friend. Little guy, plays hockey like he's 6'7". He is tough as nails. He is funny. We've had great adventures together, traveling the world, and he's just such an incredibly good human being and a hell of a golfer. I mean, you should see this kid swing.
He's thick, huh?
He is so good. He's just really competitive. He's a little guy. I mean, he's way smaller than I am. But he's just he just has a really, really big heart. And if you watch his game, he was a big reason. There's a lot of people that thought that, he should have won the Conn Smythe with the year the St. Louis Blues won the Stanley Cup. He had a tremendous playoffs. But he plays with a lot of heart, grit. He always comes out with the puck out of the corners, makes the right plays. He's an awesome human being, and I cannot wait to see him.
I love it. You got a buddy. Well, let's go to this. Let's talk about your buddy too. You had an opening day roster situation going on, right?
Yes. Shout out Mike Ciani. Congratulations, fella. You made the big club, St. Louis Cardinals. What a treat. What an honor. I met Mike Ciani through the Sean Handler family. He is just such a sweetheart of a kid. He's from Abington. He came up through A-ball, AA, AAA through Cincinnati. The Cincinnati organization, I think he was a 4th-round pick. Grinded. He's only 24 years old. He got picked up off of waivers last year, I believe, or this year by St. Louis. And sure shit makes the big club as a 24-year-old. I think he's the only sub or sub outfielder sub on their roster right now, so he's going to get a lot of time. I got to see him. His first ever series for the St. Louis Cardinals was here in LA playing against the Dodgers. I went out to the game, got to see him play. Was really special. Got to see him right after batting practice, and then the next day, him and I went for a beautiful brunch over at Bottega Louie, downtown LA. Great little restaurant. We sat down. We had some good laughs. He is such a good kid. I couldn't be happier for him. He's a hell of an athlete, fast as can be. Great outfielder, good hitter. I'm really excited for him. I'm really proud of him. And yeah, congratulations, Mike Ciani.
I love it, man. We got breaking news in Philadelphia Flyers world. The Flyers have signed Alexei Kolozov, another goalie from Russia. So he's with the team already. He came over. He'll go right into Lehigh Valley. So it'll be Kolozov, Felix Sandstrom, and Cal Peterson. So the Flyers have depth at goalie, losing Hart. But now, you got the big boy. What's his name again? Fedotov. So you got the big boy.
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't roll off your tongue good.
It doesn't. And then Kolozov, from what I know, is the opposite style of him. He's 6'1". He's like 180 pounds. He's a mover, shaker. I'm watching some of his highlights now. The guy buzzes around. So the Flyers have depth in the future for goalie, which is great. Some of their draft picks moving forward. They're getting reps with the Phantoms, which is awesome. Phantoms should be still in Philly, in my opinion. Neither here nor there.
I agree.
They're up in Lehigh Valley, which is kind of where I'm from a little bit. But I digress. Larry, talk about the watch of the week, brother. What do we got?
This is a great watch of the week. Just got it in yesterday. I just got in an Audemars Piguet, and some guys think it's P. I don't know how some people pronounce it all different ways. But Audemars Piguet Royal Oak ceramic, which is like the black. It's got that black look to it. It's basically just ceramic, but gorgeous, gorgeous timepiece. Just got it in yesterday. Very hard to find. Not a cheap watch. If you're a guy listening to the podcast and you like really expensive watches and you make a lot of cash, this might be the one for you. I've already got a lot of buzz for it, but if you got 125,000 just lying around, give me a buzz. Otherwise, you can just dream and hope and wish that you had something like that. But no, I mean, listen, it's just a watch. But it is an unbelievable timepiece. Watch of the week. Just got it in. Royal Oak, AP Royal Oak ceramic. Gorgeous piece.
All right, Larry. A lot of good stuff there. Anything you want to touch on before we roll down? I kind of went through our list and checked through everything, and we'll talk to the Phillies a little bit more as the season heats up. We'll see what the Sixers do down the stretch here. It's that time of year. We got the Masters coming up. I plan to be taking a fat nap on Masters Sunday. Can't wait for that. Other than that, man, excited to see what the Flyers do, man. It's time. It's not cutting time. Got to go.
I'll tell you what, it's a better. We're in a better position right now as fans than we have been in a long time. It's nice to see the Flyers being relevant again. They've, by most standards, they've overachieved. Let's see if they can kind of strap up their boots there and get back on track and make a little run at this playoff thing. It would be exciting if they did make the playoffs. Either way, it looks like they're running out of gas, but it's exciting. It's exciting to be back here with you, chopping it up. Yeah, let's keep this train rolling, bro.
You're the man. Fair but firm with Larry Flowers.
Fair but firm with myself, Larry Flowers. Everyone, thanks for listening. Till next week, Colin, people, I'm out.